Welcome, comrade. Sebastian Michael Cruz here. And today's message is for you if you are feeling overworked in your business. Okay. So if your scenario in your business, if that snapshot is looking like, man, there's never enough time in the day to get things done that you need to get done, then listen to this message. In fact, it's probably a scenario where the things you needed to get done yesterday still haven't all been done. So if that's the snapshot of your business, then listen for, because A, I've been there before, B, I've gotten through it, and C, I've helped a lot of people get through it as well. So first things first to realize is if you don't do something soon, you're actually closer to an implosion than you realize. I'll explain. Because you're probably thinking to yourself, I can't get any good people around here. I would have enough time in the day if only my people did the things they're supposed to do. Those thoughts going around your mind? I know they were going in my mind back in the day when I was experiencing this in my first web design business. So first thing is, if you don't fix this soon, the few good people that you do have are going to walk out the door. Even the loyal ones, they're going to be like, you know what? I believe in you. I believe in the mission, but I just can't do this anymore. And they're going to say, I'm sorry, and they're going to leave. And then it's going to be even a worse scenario that you're in right now, because you're going to have to go through a whole process of searching out the applicants, hiring, interviewing, all that stuff, getting them running just to be breaking even again, just to be at ground zero again, much less be effective. So I'm sharing these things with you, number one, to share with you the real stakes that are going on here that most people have no clue about, but is just right around the corner from them. That's how it was for me. I had no clue. Well, actually, people were trying to tell me, but I was like, I got time. Did not have time. And as I'm going to share those things that are like up in your business right now, like they're right around the corner, then we share a solution. Okay. So second thing is that if you're in a scenario where your business is taking off and you're trying to keep up with all the changes, trying to keep up with all the workload, well, if you don't solve that soon, here's the shadow. The shadow is that, yes, revenue is going up. That's great. But the thing is, as you have more and more employees, and if they're not doing the things they're supposed to be doing because of you, if that's not happening, then the swings are bigger. The more revenue that's pumping in, the bigger the swings can be, the bigger the payroll is. Okay, so you don't solve this soon, all of a sudden, boom, a little bump turns into a big swing. And bobbity boop, where'd the revenue go? We don't know. It's gone, it's spent, but payroll still needs to be paid. Whew, that's where the real problems start coming in. So that's another reason why it's important. Like the most important thing you can do is to fix this thing and fix the cause of why you're overloaded right now. Not the symptoms, not some little, efficiency tasks of like, oh, if I, use this certain method, then I'm going to get more of my things done in an hour. Like that's helpful, but that's still a Band-Aid. We need to go to the source for this. Otherwise, what happens? Boom, business implodes. Happens all the time, especially when entrepreneurs get to this point. Here's what happened to me back in the day. So I know from visceral experience the joys of missing the cue on this one. Third thing is you're hitting a point where more and more hours is grinding down on your body. It's eroding your mental, physical, emotional faculties. That's all it was for me. All I knew back in the day was, if there's a problem, I'm just going to work harder, baby. Just going to keep working. The glorious grind. That's what Gary Vee told me. You just grind. And it works to a point. And if you don't have the right systems in here, then it just runs the person to the ground. And what happens when the owner runs to the ground? What's pretty close behind? The business. Because the business can only go at the speed of the leader. The team can only go at the speed of the leader. So if that leader's going down, everything else is going to follow. So as you're getting less and less sleep, as you're having less and less free time to yourself, aka none, then you're eroding your decision-making process. And here's the subtle thing about it, is you don't even realize it. Nobody does. I didn't realize it. Nobody realizes in the moment that, whoa, my faculties are slipping. We all think we are, and especially as entrepreneurs, here's the rub. Here's the rub, is that we're naturally optimistic of the future and of ourselves. We naturally have a certain confidence that says, hey, I can just go and start this thing even though tons of other people have failed. By prerequisite, each of us entrepreneurs have those two qualities. And while they're fantastic and absolutely necessary qualities to get a new fledgling idea proven into the market and off the ground, it's absolutely necessary. While it's true, it also can be our greatest Achilles heel, especially in those things, because as our faculties are eroding down in that scenario, that optimistic part says, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We just need to get that, we just need to get that, that project manager and everything will be A-okay. It's not me, it's him. Pretty much the dialogue that's going on. It's always about getting the right team member, then things will be okay. And as we erode our mental faculties, decisions, we don't realize it because we're optimistic of the future, and then we're also confident, perhaps to a fault, in ourselves. Like, oh, no, I'm fine. And that's the macho, tough guy thing that we're taught in reality of like, oh, you're fine. You got to keep going, keep blowing, keep plugging away. Well, even though the entrepreneur keeps plugging away, the decisions start deteriorating. And some of those decisions, guess what? You're lucky. We're lucky if we make a decision and we get the feedback right away. Why? Because then we can make a change. But a lot of other decisions are a lot more subtle. They're invisible. Make a decision, it propagates down the chain of command into the business, and it might be months before we see the result of that decision. So you imagine yourself as a person's getting less sleep, their health is going out the window, things are decreasing and eroding, and they're not even realizing it. And guess what? Who's going to tell them? Who's going to tell them? The people that are being paid by them? The people that say, hey, boss, you're making shitty decisions and it's affecting all of us. No, you're not going to hear that for your team. And because they're getting paid by you. And it's not their place to really. And they'll try to say those things, but what happens? If you're like I was, and if you're like a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like hearing earmuffs to it. And, the boss doesn't want to be wrong. Boss doesn't want to be wrong. So those cues are missed and plotted forward. So that's the real stakes. And as a person erodes more and more, make worse and worse decisions, and then their personal life starts falling apart because the family's like, or the friends or the significant other is like, you're falling asleep, when we're supposed to be watching a movie. Like, you're not present here. Your mind is racing in a million different ways, and you're not even actually here. You're physically here, but your mind isn't here. So then your support system starts crumbling away. The very people that are looking out for your best interest, and you want to be there for them. You started the business in the first place to be able to give to the world and give to the people you care about, but you're not there for them, so it's starting to crumble away. So if you are feeling overworked right now, for me, back in the day, it was 100-hour work weeks, and I was proud of it. That's how deep I was in it. So whether yours is 60, 80, 100 plus, maybe even more, these are the real issues that you actually have right now. Okay. So what's going to solve it? So the solution is to upgrade your leadership. Because if your team is not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, guess whose shoulders that falls on? You, me, the leader of the company. So here's the thing, here's the helpful way to see it, is that oftentimes we start off as like the warrior leader. And then we're used to doing it ourselves, pounding the pavement, attacking, being aggressive, and making things happen. And then as people come into our team, we don't change. We're just that same person, just with more influence and more power. And, there's things that, like, I'm just going to say it, like, there's things that you've been doing in your business that you know so well because you put so many hours into it. So then when you have a person who's hired to do that and you expect them to do it perfectly in the first week, even with giving them a perfect SOP, it's like the reality of that isn't happening. It's a really big gap. And what usually happens is the leader gets pissed of why the fuck can't you just do the process, when they need a coach. They need good leadership to put them in an environment where they can succeed. Taking somebody off the street, giving them a spreadsheet or a Google document and saying implement, that's like, that's not it's not leadership. It's not leadership. So the solution here, and it's a simple one, but it's not easy, is to be a leader that's more in the sovereign energy. And the sovereign energy, there's a lot to it, but simply put, is the king, queen energy. And I know that's the buzzword these days. Oh, be a king, be a queen. Okay, if people actually knew what that entailed, they wouldn't want to be it, because it means a lot of responsibility. It means hard decisions, and it's not easy. If you're truly doing it in service leadership, that's what you're doing. It's tough, and you're going to make mistakes. But everyone wants to be where it's just, they just want the rewards of it without the responsibility of it. So it's important to come more into that energy. And as you can see, is like, you can feel, if you're hunched over, and you can check your body throughout the day. If you're hunched over, your neck is like this. It's like you're in warrior mode. You're in warrior mode. And what does the warrior mode believe? The warrior belief is that if I want it done right, I got to do it myself. Well, that's okay for a solopreneur business, maybe 1 or 2 employees. But once you get past 3, good fucking luck. That's why you're overloaded. That's one of the reasons. Whereas the sovereign energy understands that there's too much stuff to do in the business, too much stuff to do. And if I try and do it all myself, A, it's not going to get done, and B, it's not going to get done right. So you need to let go of being the star of the show. That's not your role. Your team around you, it's like they're the stars of the show. It's like in basketball, it's like you don't want to be the Michael Jordan of your business. You actually don't. You want your team to be the Michael Jordan of their role. And you're the Phil Jackson. You're on the coach with the clipboard. You're not on the court. You're scheming. You're planning up here, and you're seeing, oh, okay, well, here's something that you can do to improve. Here, try this. Oh, this person needs a little bit of confidence here. Let me boost that up. That's your real role. That's your real role. And when you make that distinction from being the star to the coach, you can let them actually do what they need to do. And having that energy will allow you to start handing off tasks and having them being done more properly. Because, man, how motivating you think it is to be somebody new to a company, to a team, excited for the vision, and then the owner flips his fucking shit every time you don't do something right. Wow. Well, it might work in the movies. It might work on these shows, but in reality, that type of dictator, tyrant leadership is not actually leadership, and it doesn't inspire people to go the extra mile. What happens is that people start saying, well, shit, either the A players, the rock and roll players, they say, you know what? I've got the skills. I've got the experience. I can go wherever I want and get paid. I don't need to be in this dump. That's what they're saying internally. The B players say, well, I don't really want to go to a different place. I'm going to build up these skills even more. And I guess I'm just going to ride it out. And then if you've hired C players, then they're just happy to have a job, and they're going to stick there and probably do the minimum required so they can still get paid. And if you can imagine, that's another reason of your frustrations, because if you're surrounded with team members that aren't playing at that A level because you're not leading them to that level, or you're not selecting through your hiring process those people, then no wonder you got a lot of work to do, because you're picking up the slack on everybody else, because it's a fucked environment to succeed, to try and succeed in the first place. So for today, what I invite you to do is to, as you're talking to your team, or as you're seeing the things that you're doing, imagine yourself in the sovereign energy, which is upright, by the way. It's not hunching, it's upright, so you can see what's going on. Instead of jumping into action right away, you're going to coach somebody to do that. And guess what? It's going to take more time, of course. There's going to be that part of your mind says, well, I could have just done it in 15 minutes and then it would be done. Well, the reality is no. Oftentimes, unanimously across the board, entrepreneurs are horrible, so bad at estimating time. We, across the board, think things will take less time than they actually do. So first and foremost, the 15 minutes that you're thinking of, probably not 15 minutes. Second of all, yeah, you'll get it done now, but it's a Band-Aid. And what happens the next time it needs to be done? And the next time? You need to be able to pump the brakes a little bit right now and say, okay, I'm going to give up that extra 5 minutes I gained, and I'm actually going to start coaching people to be self-sufficient. Okay? And as you do that, you can imagine you're in that energy where you're guiding and leading rather than doing, blaming, and burning. So that's really what it is. And if you feel like this hit the nail on the head for you, it's because I've been there. I've been through every fucking shade of what you're going through right now. So if you want some insights personally of what I've gone through one-on-one, just hit me up. Let's have a chat. Let's have a talk. Let's take a look at what you're going through. And let's look at how to cut those hours in half. Because cutting those hours in half so that you're working half the hours that you're doing while achieving more, the actual byproduct of that is you upgrading your mind to create leverage with your leadership so that people can thrive and apply their creativity. And the right people can be in the right roles at the right time. That's what it's about. And that's when things start changing. And that's when a magical thing starts happening, where it's like, wow, I am so grateful for the team I have. So blessed to be connected with these people. I'm so glad we get to help each other. And that's what I want for you, because I know that you have a vision inside. I know you have a purpose to help your industry, help the planet, help humanity. And that's what I get fired up, is giving you the tools that I've learned and I've through direct experience, so that you can skip the pitfalls that I went through. And I know that the vision that you have in your heart and in your mind will never amount to shit if you don't build these skills. These skills are what's required to create impact on a greater level. And if they aren't built, then the impact stays at this certain level, which is good. It helps people, but it's not the grand vision that I know is burning inside of you. That's what I'm here for. Sebastian Michael Cruz, cheers.